Hey everyone, it's Nick Espinoza from Authentic8. I'm happy to chat with you guys about today's live training. We're going to be covering public record research by Nick Finberg, and then we're going to chat about a new capability that we're calling Authentic8 Collector, and that'll be led by myself as well as my colleague Miguel Ramos from our product team. So stay tuned for more, and let's jump right into it. So Nick, I want to kick it off to you.
Hi everyone, I'm Nick Finberg and I will be conducting the public records research portion of today's session. Before we get started, a little bit of background on myself. Prior to working for Authentic8, I started off my career as an intelligence analyst for the Illinois Army National Guard, which eventually landed me a full-time position as an analyst for a counter-narcotics task force in the Chicagoland area. I primarily focused on large-scale money laundering operations in support of counter-narcotics, as well as open source intelligence collection, such as social media and other databases. So for the portion of today's training, we're going to be covering an overview of public records, the pros and cons of using these records, some examples and use cases of these records, methods for finding public records, including public record search engines, state and county record databases, as well as people and business search engines. So each of these tools will help you collect this information in support of open source intelligence. So the government creates public documents to record significant events in an individual or a business's life. And because of the Freedom of Information Act, this data became readily available to the public. And this includes stuff like credit records, property records, bankruptcies, criminal records, tons of different examples here on the type of documents that can be collected. And all of these are really, beneficial for all different types of investigations. So there's a lot of information, a lot of valuable information that can be collected directly from these sources, and oftentimes they're coming directly from government sources. So the veracity there, has a good amount of trust behind it. So there are some pros and cons that come with using these type of records. The first one mainly is a lot of these sites are really user-friendly. Basically, if you can use a computer, you can figure out how to collect this type of information. And the information is coming directly from government sources. So again, there's a lot of veracity there that can be trusted because you're getting it directly from the government. And a lot of these documents are stuff that these individuals have filled out themselves. So by using these websites, you can easily download copies of these official records, and is really great for developing new leads and testing the veracity of old leads because these are coming directly from government sources. Now, some of these search engines do have poor privacy policies, so in the background they might be trying to collect information on you, to put on their website. So just keep in mind you want to make sure your security practices are all up to date, so they're not collecting too much of your personal data. Because these search engines do scan, for these government sources, some of it might be incomplete or outdated information. So keep that in mind, and some of these government sites do charge fees to receive the records. In my experience of working with these, if you do email them and let them know who you are and who you work for, they will give you the records for free. Here are a few examples. These are some that I've used mostly throughout my career. Some of them are pretty obvious, right? Like phone records. Now, you're not going to be able to get like actual text messages or the amount of phone calls or information about phone calls that these numbers are making, but you can find out if a number belongs to a landline, business, or mobile phone. And oftentimes these records will also include subscriber information, so you can sometimes identify the user behind that phone number. Property records are good for finding out who owns a particular property. So I use this a lot, particularly in money laundering investigation when trying to identify assets, particularly property records. So you can find out stuff like, who owns a property, if there are multiple owners, the last sale that was made, how much the property was sold for, and sometimes, how they purchased the property, whether it be through, a credit line, a loan, or, some kind of cash payment. Court records, you can look by name or case number to find out if a person of interest is in the middle of any court cases. So this is great for collaboration. If you see a case that one of your suspects is involved in or was involved in, best practice is to reach out to the department that arrested that individual and, reach out to the agent that was the lead on that case. Business records, I found this another good one for anti-money laundering investigations, specifically looking at, names or business names to find out, who the owner of a business is, when it was registered, information about, how the business was registered. So this is good for looking at shell companies to make, checking if they're legitimate or not. And then finally, one that I've used a lot is lien records. So finding out if an individual has loans or judgments against them can obviously be really beneficial, and it's really good for getting a snapshot of an individual's assets. So there are multiple methods for finding, the public government records. You can either go directly to the state or government records website, or use some of these open source people and business search engines that will actually go out there and collect this data for you and compile it in one location. So again, a lot of different ways that you can access this information, and it's definitely a lot faster than going directly to, the government building that actually handles these records. And, by going to these sites, it allows you to actually download legitimate real copies of those records. So it's just a much easier method of doing it, through the open web instead of actually going and doing it in person or, having them send it to you via email or in the mail. Again, some of these websites do charge access to these records. Just let them know who you are, and they'll usually give you an account for free to access them. So the first tool we're going to cover is Black Book Online. And what this does is they've actually found all of these public record websites, and it's a search engine for finding which of these, searching by keywords, so you can look up stuff like Dallas, Texas jail inmates, as you see as the example there. And what it can do is it will lead you to the different websites that have this information. So they've just compiled all the different, actual government sources and allow you to, search by keyword in order to find exactly what you're looking for. So, when looking into different states, obviously they each have different rules. So I really like this one when, trying to gather that information from all the, various states that are out there. So let's go ahead and hop into a demo and see exactly what this looks like. So as you can see, I am using our Manage Attribution Platform toolbox. The reason I'm using this is because, obviously I don't want this type of information to attribute back to me or my organization. So, by using this, it's not going to attribute back to your organization. It's not going to, attribute back to you individually. And I do have the ability to change my user agent string. So I'm going to choose Chrome on a Windows 10 because Chrome has about 80% of the browser market share around the world, and it's pretty much, the most popular, and that's what you're going to see in pretty much most locations around the world. So this allows me to blend in as a local event environment. And I'm actually using our US West location to conduct this research. So the first site is blackbookonline.info. As you can see, it's really easy to use, super user-friendly. They have some example search, some example searches that you can conduct here. To get a feel of the kind of information. I haven't had much luck actually searching for an individual or business's name, but this will lead you to the type of sites to find that information. So first, for my example, I'm just going to look up, see what I can find on Illinois criminal records. As you can see, we've got 161 different search results that were returned for our search query. And this first one here is the best one that I've used in the past. It's a website called Judici. It's just obviously for the state of Illinois. But what this allows you to do is look up all the different court cases based on a different county. So for this website, all the counties that you see in blue do have, the records available online. As you can see, Cook County, which is the county that Chicago is in, they don't have their records online, but they do have their own website where you can gather this information. So you can just break it down by county, and that's how a lot of these sites are. The state-owned sites, they'll allow you to break it down by county, or you can actually go directly to the county source, to the county's website. So the next step we're going to cover is actually going directly to the state and county records websites to conduct some of these searches. So what this will allow you to do, you can bounce around and choose which county, your person of interest might have some kind of information in. And just, conduct a different, any type of search query you can think of. You can look at marriage records, death records, property ownership records, all those different records we talked about usually can be found on these state and county record searching sites. And these are the ones that will sometimes charge for access to their search tool. And again, just let them know who you are, and they'll usually set you up with a free account as long as, they can find that all of your information is legitimate. So again, let's go ahead and hop into product and see exactly what these searches look like. For the purpose of this search, I'm actually going to use the Clark County assessors page, Clark County, Nevada, which is where Las Vegas is, and see what kind of information I can find out on a particular property. So usually I could just sometimes I'll just do a Google search to find the right site. I already have this site because I've gone to it quite a bit. It's just clarkcounty.gov, and by going there, it'll actually lead me to the type of search that I want to conduct. So this is the assessor's page, so looking at tax information and property ownership for different locations. So you can look up on this site, you can look it up by parcel number, owner name, address, subdivision name, a lot of different options for breaking down your searches here. And they actually, this website's really cool because it has a map function where you can actually just pull up the map of the location and select from the property there in order to get your records. So we're going to start by searching for owner name. So this individual was involved in a money laundering case and drug trafficking case that I was working here. You do have the option to show only current parcel record, or you can also look at present and prior owners of the parcel. So I'm actually going to select that option instead. So here are the two different individuals we have for this area. We're going to go ahead and select Ryan Hebe here. And by selecting the parcel number, that's what's actually going to bring you to the specific record. And as you can see, we've got the current owner and all former sales of that particular property. So we've got it dating all the way back to the 90s and the 80s. And they don't have those copies, obviously, but they do have the recorded document number. And as you can see, if you select the actual document, it'll bring you to that actual copied image. And from here, you can download or print that option or print that record. So there's the information. You've got a PO box. The actual trust that he purchased from. So they bought the property with $90,000. Ryan Hebe, a single man. The commonly known address here, which has a lot of great information. So I love this these type of websites because being able to pull down the actual copy of these particular records is huge, right? It's really easy to use these actual copies as as evidence. So we've got full parcel information, purchasing information, the amount of taxes they paid on the account, and and their actual signatures, as well as the person who was requesting the recording was there as a witness. And we also have the seller's information, for if we want to track them down and ask them about the sale. And we also have the buyer's information, which this individual was in a PO box. So let's go ahead and actually search by property address instead of just searching by name, and you'll see that we'll get the exact same results. But as you can see, you can this is where you can print and download or bookmark that particular copy of that record. So again, we'll search by address. We're going to search by that same address that we just looked into. So what I like about this particular function is the only thing that's necessary for the search is the street name. So if you have a general area where you think your individual is living or might own a house, you can just type in the street address, and that'll actually just bring up a list of all the houses on that street, and you can start to click through and identify which one is, belonging to your suspect. So we'll type in, 4742 Torrance was the address we were looking at originally. And let's go ahead and look at, the present and prior owners of that parcel, and we'll go ahead and select submit and see what our search results look like. So obviously, there's that list of all those different properties that are on that street or have a near matching address. That 4742 is the first one that pops up, and that's our first address, and that's the one we're looking for. So again, just select the parcel number, and it's going to bring you to that exact same record that we looked at earlier. It's got all those previous sales, the copy of that actual document, the official document. Depending on, whichever one you like the most is, or the best luck that you're having, the search method is, you have a lot of different options here. So the next thing we're going to cover are some open source people and business search engines. So these websites like Cyber Background Checks and Family Tree Now, which we'll cover, collect these public records for you, using these various sources, on both individuals and businesses. So this is where you can find stuff like, other observed names, dates of birth, possible family members, addresses, known associates or possible associates. There's a lot of really valuable information that is already compiled by these websites for you. What I would do with these is just I like to check all three of these when I'm looking for information on a suspect, just to verify the information that I'm finding, because some of them might have more information than the others. So the first one is cyberbackgroundchecks.com. This is actually my personal favorite. You have a lot of different search options here, and it comes with a lot of data. So there's stuff, you can search by name, address, phone number, and email. And, whatever information they have collected is going to lead you to an actual profile that these websites have built on the individuals or the businesses that you're looking into. So I've had good luck with actually all of these search functions. I like doing it by name because then you get, all the information that they have on that particular name. But if you don't have a name, just look it up by phone number or email address or, also address. Again, another one with a lot of different options here. And another site that's similar is familytreenow.com. So this one's actually pretty interesting because it was originally developed as a site for just connecting your family tree. You can look at this site and look up your own information to find some possible relatives you might not have known existed. And they pull records all the way back. They have census records all the way back, dating to the 1800s. So again, a lot of really valuable information. And, the reason we're covering these tools is because, again, I like to collect information from all three in case any of these tools are missing information. So this one, again, allows you to search by name, first name, last name, and location. And then when you actually get to your search results is where you can break it down even further to refine those search results to find exactly who you're looking for. After that, we're going to cover spydialer.com. So this one is primarily for phone numbers. That's, the most information that they have is on phone numbers. So you can find out information if it's a landline, if it's a cell phone, it belongs to a business. But you can also search up, search by people, address, and email, much like cyberbackgroundchecks.com. This one doesn't have a ton of information on, groups of people, but they have a great phone search. And the next one is the World Intellectual Patent Organization portal. So this is really cool, and I love this one for money laundering investigations because it does allow you to search by, an individual's name or a business's name to find any patents that they've filed. So I would look at this all the time when looking at, possible shell companies that are, conducting possible money laundering to see what kind of patent they've filed, if they've filed any patents, and, who actually filed the patent and, what kind of information that they give out. So let's jump in and see what this looks like. So again, that first tool is going to be just cyberbackgroundchecks.com. Again, it's another one that's super easy to use, really easy to find. They've got a lot of information here. Looking at it now, you can see you can search by name, address, phone, or email address. Again, I like the name search, because it'll give you all that information that's collected. But, of course, if you don't have a name, you have these other options here available. So I'm going to look at this individual, Oliver Maupin. He's actually currently serving 5 years in federal prison for money laundering and drug trafficking. And you can break it down by, by just state, or if you have an actual city, you can break it down there too. So that first record is the individual we're looking for. This is just a quick overview of your search results. To view all of the details, just select View Details, and it'll bring you, to that page where they have it all laid out and where they pulled that information from. So as you can see, first thing we found is the current address. That's 1720 Silver Avenue. And then, below that is just a brief information about the, the city of Las Vegas. We've got all of his possible phone numbers. And what I like here is, as you can see, you've got stuff like, last reported in April of 2020 for all the phone numbers. They've got information on when this phone number was last reported. And, as you scroll down, you can see some more information here. So, we've got stuff like email addresses, which can be extremely valuable, some other observed names. This particular individual went by a lot of different nicknames, Sonny Maupin, Oliver Maupin, and a few different combinations of that name. So I like that there. You can, start to do some searches on some other observed names. A full address history, which again I really like. So we already had that, that current address. This is going to show all of his previous addresses. And another thing that I really like about this function is that they have, the last reported information on when this individual lived there. And you can see it, dating all the way back to 2014. And oftentimes they have records that go even further back for these different individuals. And as we scroll down, you can see we've got stuff like possible relatives as well as possible associates. So this is awesome for link analysis, right? If I see any names pop up in my investigation that are appearing as possible associates for, on this website, then maybe I want to start doing some searching on these actual individuals. So there's a lot of benefits of having these possible associates and possible relatives. And now we've got possible businesses. So again, going back to money laundering and fraud investigations, this is really cool because I can see, okay, so this guy has registered what seems to be a legitimate business, and I've got all the filing numbers, which is really beneficial when researching. I can take this and research further records on that business, and the address that he is running this business, his officer title, so he is the listed as the secretary, contact, and president of that business. And then once you get to the bottom is where you will find an overview of the information that was found. So you see we've got Sonny Maupin, 62 years old. Here are some possible phone numbers, some possible email addresses, family members, and most recent address, as well as recently living at this 31 Diamond Circle in Las Vegas. And you can actually download the full report instead of just reading the web version. So I really like the export capabilities that they have on this site. So now let's check out Family Tree Now and see what kind of information they have on this individual. So again, it's just familytreenow.com, another very easy to use site. This is the main page. This is where you're going to start your actual search. If you were to select the search icon that you see there on the top, it will bring you to those advanced search options. I just start off with the basic search. We'll just do the basic search for Oliver Maupin, coming out of Nevada. So just select search records, and it's going to bring you all the possible matches to the records that you search. So as you can see, they've got 1940 census information, 1900 census information. The records that I've seen on Family Tree Now, I think they go back the furthest on all the different sites that I've looked at. So we'll just select that first record. It is the individual that we are looking for. And you can see that the information that they have here. So we start off with associated names, and they do match up with the associated names that cyber background checks had. You've got your possible relatives, so some more possible associates here. Again, obvious benefits there, and then there's your current and past addresses. So what I like for Family Tree Now versus cyberbackgroundchecks.com is they have the actual dates that they believe this individual lived at that address. And this is all information that's pulled directly from those government sources. So, you can kind of trust the information. I would just run the information that you're gathering from, through these sites, through multiple sources, just to verify it. Again, we've got those possible phone numbers. So, each one of these tools that we're going to cover have their various benefits, right? I really like this one because it shows those dates on when the individual lived at that address. And then, hopping into Spy Dialer, which we'll do next, they've got more information as far as phone numbers go. So let's go ahead and head to spydialer.com. And as you guys notice the pattern here, all these sites are really easy to use. They're super accessible to anybody that wants to gather this information. They have a ton of information connected to them. Some of these different ones, specialize in different things. Spy Dialer, particularly looks at phone numbers, but a lot of them have, matching information. It's just good to use a bunch of different tools, in order to verify what you're looking for. So we'll just do, Oliver Maupin out of Nevada and see what we can find. So we'll just give it a minute to work here. This one can, depending on what you're searching for, it can take a minute, obviously depending on your internet connection as well. So we've got a general area of where the phone number comes out of, and here are our search results. So again, what I like about this one is it does show when the records came, what date or what year the records came from. So we've got both 2019 and 2020. Obviously, we're going to look at the most current records that they have available. And you'll see they have a lot of similar information to, our original tools that we looked at. So there it is. We have the phone number. It does say that it's a landline. Unfortunately, it does not attach to that 1720 Silver Avenue. It just says that he's living in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I do like that they show the source on this website. So you can see, source 2020 public data, maybe a homeowner, again, pulled from public data. And then we've got people that Oliver may know. So we've got, his alias of Sonny Maupin, his possible family member of Dorothy, and some neighbors. So we've got Carlos, Edwin, Alfonso, Mercedes, and Ken are all neighbors, and could be people that we could talk to gather more information, on this individual. So I do like that functionality there. And finally, let's look at the patent organization search portal. So again, this is a tool that I used for money laundering investigations, particularly when looking at businesses and if they are operating as shell companies, if they do have any patents filed to them. Again, who filed the patent? So let's just do a simple search for our company, Authentic8, and see what kind of information we can pull from here. And there we go. So we can see, the actual business registration, the secure analysis application for accessing web sources, the inventor Scott Petrie. We've got inventor Ramesh. So I really like this. There's a lot of details on the patents that are being filed. Any information, dates on when it was filed, the actual filing number, and really good information on finding additional people that could be tied to this business. Particularly in money laundering investigation, it's not always the individual you're looking into that, filed these businesses or filed these patents. So, this is a really good method into, finding more information on a particular business or an individual. So that's just their basic search. They do have advanced search capabilities. You can look at a bunch of different options here. You've got, you can even look at chemical compounds that were filed, but you do need to log into an account in order to access that data. So this is their advanced search. You get a lot of different options here. You can break it down by language. They do have multiple languages that they search in, break it down by offices that they might be working at. A great way to identify possible additional locations of a business or any possible addresses where, the patent was filed out of. So, all these tools have a lot of great information and can really be beneficial for gathering this. And sometimes it's faster than going directly to these government sources. And finally, the last thing we're going to talk about is Google Dorking. So Google Dorking isn't just for looking at property records, but it does help with it a lot. So this is a technique for finding information which won't be found through regular Google searches. This is actually also known as Google hacking because sometimes it can lead to finding information that was not intended for public view. So these are just some common Google dorks. Basically what will happen is when you do a Google dork, you will put these queries in before your actual search terms. So stuff like the entitle and all entitled dork, right? So when you're looking for a particular person or particular keyword, you'll type in entitle or all entitle and put quotations around your search terms. What this will do is it's going to tell Google to only show you results that have your search term or search phrase within the title, which is what you click on when you go to a Google search page. Next, we have the in URL and all in URL dork. So these are like the common ones that I've used a lot. In URL and all in URL. This is actually for, when you look for information in here, when you conduct these searches, it's going to tell Google to only show sites that have your exact search term or phrase within the URL of that actual search. So it's going to, this is a really great method for breaking down your search results to find exactly what you're looking for. And the last one that I've used quite a bit is the file type dork. So this is great when you're looking for some kind of document, whether it be a PDF, a Microsoft Word document, a PowerPoint. You can break it down here so you can do, start your search terms or your search phrase, in quotations, and then what you can do is combine it with a file type dork to only find, files of a particular type. So, again, I could do something like, in title, Russian military, file type, PDF, to find any PDF documents that have been written about the, the Russian military. And finally, we've got something known as Boolean logic. So when you conduct a regular search on Google, what it does to give you results is it uses something called PageRank. And what this does is they look at a few different things. They look at how long the page has been around, the amount of times your keyword or phrase has appeared in your search, as well as popularity of the website. Now with Boolean logic, by adding something like "and" in between your search term or phrase, it's going to give you results that have both. It's only going to give you results that have both of those keywords or phrases in your search. And then when you do an "or," it's going to give you, either or. So you'll do search term "or," and then your second search term, it's going to give you, one or the other. And then one of my personal favorites is hard quotes. By adding hard quotes around my search terms, Google is only going to give me results that have my exact search terms or phrase within those search results. So I like this for looking at phone numbers to see any other location where a phone number has appeared, or looking at a name, right? If you put hard quotes around a name, it's only going to give you websites that have, that particular name within the website. So a really great way of filtering out your search results and possibly finding stuff that you weren't expecting to find. So we'll go ahead and finish it up with a Google Dorking demo, just so you guys can see what this looks like. This technique does require a good amount of practice. So just have a lot of trial and error when you're testing this out. So there's no particular website you need to go to. All of your searches can be done directly through Google. And let's start off by doing a search for this 410 number that was involved in a case that I was looking into, particularly someone selling narcotics on the dark web. I'm sorry, 409 number. So as you can see, we've got about 30,000 results on, but just by doing a search for the phone number without any search operators. And we do have some matches, but you can also see that we have some partials. So obviously 30,000 results can be a lot to look for, and it's not necessarily showing us exactly what we want to see. You can see this particular page is missing the rest of the phone number, it just has the area code. Here's another one here that is just searching for phone numbers with that area code. This can take a really long time to go through. So by adding quotation marks around my search terms, this will only return sites that have that exact phone number in my search. So as you can see, it did give us 49,000 results. That's just because it included images, when in reality we only have about 30 pages on the entire web that contain a matching phone number. So we've got sites of this individual selling cannabis online, buying pills and painkillers and chemicals, and as you can see in the anchor there, it actually has, it only shows that matching phone number. So by going to the second page, we only have 2 pages of search results, so there isn't actually 50,000 search results that came through here. But this is again a really great method of narrowing down your search results to find exactly what you're looking for. As we all know, Google is a massive search engine. They have a lot of information, but it can take a while to sift through all these different websites that it's feeding back to us. So now let's do a search for our suspect, Oliver Maupin, just a regular web search without any anchors to see what kind of sites we get. All right, so we do have the article, from the arrest, but we do have some matches that aren't our suspect, right? We've got this Raynard S. Maupin, just because Google does take partials of your search. And most of the stuff we're looking at here doesn't have to do with our actual suspect. And we got 1.6 million results. Now what I can do is add an all-in title Google Dork. So what this will look like, type in your Google Dork, colon, no spaces, put your first quotation mark, type in your search terms, and close it with a quotation mark. Yeah, so as you notice, there's no space in between my search, in between the dork and the quotation mark, because that can mess up the search. And now we're down, we're now narrowed down to only 2 results. So particular sites that have this information within their title. And we stumbled upon a property sale here. So we've got information about a property that he purchased. Purchased it for $350,000. Information about the property, the lot size, home size, how many beds and bathrooms, not extremely important, but we do have some good information here. A map view of the actual address, and what I really like here is the sale history. So what's interesting that I see here, so Mango Man Limited was actually a shell company that he had created that had no legitimate assets through Mango Man, and as you can see, so from July 3rd of 2002 to to June 1st of 2005, he transferred the property a lot there, which is definitely a red flag. It's really weird for someone to transfer the property that many times. So again, Great way to great method for narrowing down search results and also finding stuff that you might have taken a long time to find in our original search there. So that concludes my portion of today's training. We will be doing Q&A at the end, and we will be answering questions in the chat as we go through. For now, I'm going to pass it back over to Nick to cover our web harvester capabilities.
Thanks, Nick. So I'm here to chat about Authentic8's newest capability that we're calling Collector. And don't hold us against that marketing. It's just something that Miguel came up with. So let's first frame the conversation around the problem that most people are facing today. So as you gather publicly available information, you're oftentimes going against what I call a fixed target set, which in this case means a specific site or service that you're commonly just going after again and again and again. This could be a hacker forum, this can be a pay site, this could be Reddit, this could be social media, but you're always going back time and time again against that one bit of infrastructure. So this ultimately poses a little bit of an issue because there is the opportunity for attribution by your target. And this is due to the sort of tells. Humans were creatures of habit, meaning that we will commonly navigate a site the exact same way. We'll hit that site during the same period of time, day in and day out. We're commonly coming from the same IP space. And lastly, if we're doing research like this, there is opportunity for human error in user agent string setting, consistency in user agent string, switching mid-session, and so on. So let's dig into this in some real examples, right? So pattern of life. Humans, again, creatures of habit. And let's say you work for the US government and you tend to do your work between 9 and 5 EDT. If you're doing your work consistently during that period of time and maybe taking a break consistently at a certain time, hopping off to grab a cigarette here or there, and then maybe some other tells based on your peaks and valleys of activity. Based on that sort of information, you can likely be attributed to a USG organization when compared with other things like, let's say, your fingerprint or even your IP space, which brings me to my next point. So if you are using your regular organization, whether commercial or public sector, you are really giving away your intent as well as some of your priority intelligence requirements. So if you're coming out of that IP space or you're using a VPN or proxy, any site worth their salt is looking at that sort of information and trying to identify who is coming out of a known VPN, who's coming out of a known proxy, and starting to try to look at that traffic a little bit more closely. So you're giving off a tell. And lastly, if you are using weird user agent strings, whether they're just hand jammed and broken, they're atypical for the norms on the region, you will look a little bit different and you will likely garnish additional sort of scrutiny. So let's bring in our newest capability that helps solve many of these problems with fixed target sets. So I will pass this off to my colleague Miguel, and he's going to give you guys a heads up overview as to kind of what Collector is, what it can do, and he'll do an actual demo as well. And lastly, I'll close out with some really cool examples to get you guys thinking about how you can use Authentic8 Collector in a meaningful way beyond what might make sense out the box. Some really clever capabilities there that should help you out. So with that, Miguel, I'm going to pass it off to you.
Thanks, Nick, for the intro and for setting the stage on some of the challenges associated with collecting publicly available data. We've actually cooked up some cool capabilities here at A8 to try and solve for these challenges, which we're going to launch in the second half of the year, and wanted to give you folks a sneak peek and maybe even get some feedback as well. So if you have any, please feel free to share it as we go. We're calling this product Collector for Analysts, and don't hold me to that name because it might change later. So we're open to suggestions, but Collector for Analysts it is for now. And so let me provide you with a little bit of additional context. Some of you may have found yourselves needing to collect data from a target and wanting to do it at a time that maybe wouldn't draw attention, right? And so the problem is that being able to do that at that time, that might be in the middle of the night. And so maybe you're waking up to do that, and clearly that's inconvenient to say the least, right? So some of you may have even gone a step further and tried to solve for that by stringing together solutions to automate that collection. But doing that typically involves a bunch of coding, right? And then you've got to shuttle the content somewhere else for deeper analysis, maybe. So doing all of that is kind of challenging to manage on an ongoing basis. And all of this has to be done without attribution by the target. So it's tough, right? So Collector for Analysts solves for those issues. And it allows you to collect content via an easy to use UI with 3 core collection capabilities. The first is visual. This gets you a fully rendered version of a web page in PDF, image, or even HTML format. Sites use so much JavaScript these days, and so much stuff is happening at the browser level, that sometimes having rendered content is easier and just saves you time, right? So maybe you just need to read something, or you want the rendered content for deeper analysis. Second is video. Video content providers are upping the ante in terms of making it more difficult to collect video. And sometimes video is key. So Collector gives analysts additional flexibility to collect this type of content. Assets is the third, and that's the stalwart in terms of content collection, right? It's getting a copy of the raw assets for your target URL. All of these collection capabilities are enhanced with the ability to schedule tasks, to manage attribution via global egress nodes, and fingerprint control, along with APIs to get that collected content where you need it to go. So we're really excited about Collector for Analysts. We wanted to provide an easy button while giving analysts access to advanced capabilities. But now on to the good stuff, the demo. All right, so standard disclaimer first. This is development code. The UI is not done yet, but there's obviously enough there to show you what the product can do and what it's going to start to look like. So keep that in mind as we go through this. It's totally a sneak peek. So give me a second here while I get this going. Let me share my screen. All right, so you should see the Collector UI now. So this is the fun part. The main UI will allow you to view your collection jobs, manage them, access content, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to show you how to get jobs going and the 3 different collection capabilities that we talked about. So let's do visual first. We'll keep it simple for now. I'm going to select visual. I'm going to choose the PDF format. I'm going to add some testing notes here, and this will be kind of placed in a cover page on the PDF. You'll see that shortly. Let me choose a file name and put in something simple. Let's do the CNN website. Okay, looking good. So let's schedule that. Let's get that going. We could schedule it, but let's make it run now. So you'll see it's running. It'll show up as running. Eventually, it'll show up as finished, assuming everything goes well. And let's kind of get the other capabilities going so we can see them. So let's start. Let's do video. Let me pick a video here. Let's see. I'm going to pick a YouTube video. Get it through Japan, hit save, and kind of get that going. So that job is running as well. And let me just also, let's grab some assets as well. Don't want to grab a big site because that will take longer. But let's just do, how about our company page. Let's do that. Let's get that going. So I'll schedule this. We'll grab the web by the assets. So this job is running. These other jobs have finished. So let's check out the contents one by one of these finished jobs here. We'll start with the PDF. Click the content link. Here's the PDF. Let's see. So we've got, let's try to view it. And we've got a rendered version of the CNN webpage. You'll see that it's a clean render. We just viewed it in Silo from the storage manager. So you could pull it down from your computer. Actually, any asset that is in the storage manager, actually, you can download it via our file API programmatically as well. So here's the PDF. There's a cover page on it. You can turn this on and off. I put some notes. It gives you some information on the URL access, time, how it was accessed, method of collection, some information on the user agents, etc. And here you go. A beautifully rendered CNN.com PDF. So you can use that to visually represent any site. We showed you PDF just now, but this could very well be a PNG instead, or actually HTML format as well. So if you want that rendered PDF or that rendered website in HTML format, that's also available. So let's take a look at the other contents. Let's see the video here. I clicked on the wrong link. Content link. Here's the video. Let's try to grab it. So that's our development environment. Clearly, it's a little slow on the video play, but that's nothing like a little Rick Astley to brighten up your day. So that's the video collection that came from YouTube, which is a capability that is obviously very, very useful to you guys. And let's see about that collection job on the assets. Okay, so it looks like that last collection job ended, and we should be able to click the content here. There it is, 68 megs. That's the a zipped up version of all the assets in our company webpage. So if I were to download those, those would be available to me. I just have to unzip the file and get them. So, it's the three different collection types, all available via the UI. Easy scheduling, easy collection, not attributable to your organization, lots of flexibility. We're pretty jazzed about it. At the end of the day, we want to keep delivering value to the analyst community, and we'll keep iterating and delivering cool features to you. Obviously, I'm showing you very simple examples here, but the sky's really the limit in terms of what you can do, right? I'm going to let Nick kind of walk you through how you might use something like this in the context of PAI collection. But before I toss it over, let me just say that we'd love to hear your feedback on this in the Q&A. If you guys have any ideas, for interesting additional features, let us know. You guys, if you find value in using something like this, let us know. You guys know your workflows, so tell us what you need. And if you're interested in discussing these capabilities further, then please reach out to us. We'd be happy to meet with you separately. So over to you, Nick.
Yeah, so let's talk about some use case examples. Really cool tool, but how can I actually make use of this? So I laid out three specific scenarios that could have some really high value to many of our customers and viewers today. An example of this could be collecting assets, which is, as you recall, the full kind of HTML directory structure for Reddit.com are onions, and doing that on a daily basis at a random time. And you want to do it with 5 levels deep recursion. So this is super, super in-depth, meaning every page linked to, it's going to go 4 additional layers deep with every link on those sites and so on and so forth. This is a really big blob of data that you're going to get, and you'll need to post-process it. So a great ETL pipeline could be the use of Apache NiFi, for example. Or you can even do something like using grep to identify mentions of unique .onions from the HTML files collected. And this will give you the newest, most interesting onion sites that are being discussed on the open web, which is commonly where you find some of the more cutting edge or unique content that comes out on the dark web, because they got to talk about it somewhere for people to then be led to it, unless you're in a specific know, so to speak. So next, let's talk about collecting visuals. As you recall, Miguel had mentioned visuals are basically a visual representation in PNG or PDF format of a specific site. So in this case, I chose mil.news.sina.com.cn with 1 layer deep. So I imagined I was a Chinese military analyst and I wanted to look at the front page of this microblogging site focused on the Chinese military as well as regional political events. So this allows me as an analyst to pop into these sites without actually having to go to them day in and day out, view the content as it was rendered, as well as get access to those front page, blogs. So next, let's talk about videos. So I wanted to collect videos from Instagram.com, and I searched for the hashtag iPhone 12, which is their newest device that is supposedly coming out very soon. And I want to do it with 1 layer deep. So basically, everything you see on the Explore page for iPhone 12, I want to gather every video from that page. So I imagined myself being an Apple analyst, and I wanted to identify potential legitimate leaks of intellectual property at a really high scope and scale because I don't have enough man hours in the day to get that work done. So this enables you to do exactly that. So really nice set of use cases, and this is just the tip of the spear. The limitation of the tool is really only your imagination. So think about how you can post-process this data and how you can use the assets, visual or video collection capabilities in meaningful ways. Hey everyone, before we hop into Q&A, I wanted to thank you all for joining us over the past 8 weeks. It's been a really fun experiment to deliver this content over YouTube or Zoom versus our kind of standard in person. So this has been interesting. You know, we've had great Q&A, we've had great chat, we have great phone calls, text messages, emails, pretty much anything under the sun. You guys have reached out and we've had really meaningful interactions with you. And we've loved delivering this content. So speaking of the content, the good news is we're going to continue with generating this stuff. However, it's going to live behind our OSINT Academy, which is our newest product line. So you might notice there's a link down below. Check it out. But essentially, OSINT Academy consists of a computer-based training platform where we have 40 plus hours of content, and we're adding new stuff just like this very, very often. In addition to that, we also have OSINT Insiders, which is our sort of fireside chat in which we discuss the newest progression in tools, technologies, tradecraft related to the gathering of publicly available information. So really interesting stuff there, and some more sensitive topics too that we won't really talk about in the public on forums like this. It'll all live within our tool. So last but not least, we also have our OSINT forums coming out soon, which will have a safe and secure way for you guys to interact with one another and talk about best practices and learn from other practitioners in the space. So really excited to continue this effort behind the OSINT Academy program, and we're looking forward to hopefully having you guys on there. So feel free to shoot us a note at osint@authentic8.com or check out the link below. And again, thank you all for joining us. And now let's bring it over to some Q&A. Thanks everyone for sticking with us. I'm really excited to jump into this live Q&A. So I'm joined by, of course, Miguel and Nick, and we are here to answer some questions. So Miguel, we had two questions that were emailed, and I'll kind of start with the softball one, which is, what egress nodes does the Authentic8 collector for analyst tool have access to? And then I'm going to add a personal question in there, is can that be expanded to other locations?
Yeah, so we have nodes deployed in all major regions. So there's a North IP address type, be it residential or mobile.
Cool. So the other question I want to ask is, user agent strings, can those be manipulated just like a normal user would within Silo or Silo for Research, which other people know as Toolbox? Can that be manipulated?
That's right. Yeah, no, absolutely. User agent strings can be manipulated. There are, the collector products got default ones, but they can certainly be changed depending on the collection need.
Awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome. Cool. So I'm going to see if more questions come in. But Nick, you have two. The first of which is, do the sites contain primarily U.S. person information, the ones you were showing for public record searching?
Yeah, so those three sites that I showed, the cyberbackgroundchecks.com, Family Tree Now, and Spy Dialer, those are primarily U.S. records. Just because that's how they've collected that information, is through American public records. Now, there was a site known as pipl.com, pipl.com. It was one of the best free sites out there, for this type of information that had both U.S. and foreign individuals, but it's now a paid, subscription-based service.
Interesting. Nick, I think as our resident kind of tradecraft trainer, that might be an area for you to dig into, getting into some of the foreign persons sources, but it's going to be tough because, we know the EU and all the assorted countries outside of the United States are pretty voluminous, and those data sets are pretty much different country by country, so I'll make it a little bit harder for you. Nick, you also had another question that came up, which was, if you take out parentheses while doing a Google Dork and you're just using dashes, and I believe this is just for a phone number in your example, how would the content change? So first, what purpose do the parentheses actually serve in a search? And then two, if you remove the parentheses and just add the dashes along in that phone number, what would it do to the result set? So start there.
Yeah, parentheses work similar to the quotation marks, and I actually forgot that I had included that in my search because I copied and pasted it over, and I actually should have done the search without the parentheses and just the quotations around there. But by replacing the parentheses with dashes, it will give you fuzzy results, which will lead to some of those partials that we saw in our original Google search.
Yeah, very, very cool. All right. Well, I think that answers the few questions that we got during the stream and by email. So I don't know if we have any additional stuff to cover. So guys, Nick, actually, I want to give you an opportunity. You've had a ton of work bringing this training to our customer set, and I'm really proud of the work you did. Do you want to say any kind words kind of as you close out on our final free training before we move people over to OSINT Academy?
Yeah, first of all, I do want to thank everybody that has attended. I think we've done, maybe 12 to 15 training sessions, during this crazy time that we're all living in. And, having that engagement is really important. And, it just makes us better as analysts, getting the opportunity to share examples and share other tools. And, although, I am happy that, the hard work is done here. I did have a great time with all of these, and, I really appreciate everybody that has attended.
Yeah, the bad news for you, Nick, is the hard work is never over. We're just transitioning to another venue, so we're going to be doing just this much content just behind the paywall, so to speak, with OSINT Academy. So we're building a really cool community there in which folks like you, I, and Miguel can share best practices on technology, tradecraft, and what it really takes to be a proficient collector of PAI, and making it available as an exclusive bit of content. So I'm just so excited. And Miguel, do you have any parting words before we kind of punch out for the audience about maybe other product stuff that's coming down the pipeline that you can hint at? I put you on the spot there, but anything you want to touch on?
I think thanks for putting me on the spot. I would say that I appreciate the time to kind of share some of the product work that is happening with our customer base, and we welcome the feedback. If I just say to the kind of the folks that are watching, if you want to deep dive on Collector as an example, happy to do that with you. If you would like further details on a roadmap, please reach out and we can make that happen. I think we welcome the feedback, we take it, we incorporate it into our roadmap planning. It's super key and important for us. So. Please reach out so we can get you more detailed roadmap data and show you all the good things we've got cooking.
Yeah, so I encourage everyone who's on the stream and might want to take Miguel up on that, shoot us a note, OSINT@Authentic8.com. My team serves as a huge kind of belly button for many of our customers or interested parties to get you access to the resources that you need across the company, whether it's from my team, our program management team, our product team, whoever it may be. We're happy to kind of help you get in touch with them. So please shoot us a note at OSINT@Authentic8.com. And last but not least, I want to give a final shout out to just the whole cast of characters that really help us get this done as a company. So huge shout out to Tom K for spearheading this initiative. Huge shout out to our marketing team, Emily, Jessica, Julianne, Julie, and then, of course, our fearless leadership for giving us the opportunity to talk about some sensitive topics in a unique new forum and trusting us to do this. Obviously, we've had a couple hiccups here and there with audio and some video settings getting weird, but it's the nature of the beast. So, again, thanks to everyone at Authentic8, and thanks to all of you guys for viewing our content week in and week out. Shoot us a note at OSINT@Authentic8.com, and until we see you in Academy, goodbye for now. So, everyone, just give a nice little wave.